So I feel like a massive imposter about to do this episode today while I'm feeling the way that I am. But in the interest of consistency and knowing that I've got a strategy and I've got a type of method of putting these episodes out to make sure that they are done in a timely manner to help with future engagement, etc. The only reason I'm over explaining myself is because I had a few questions this week, both from clients and friends, about how do you get everything done? Like, how do you not procrastinate? The truth is, I procrastinate a lot. I've got a pile of marking yet to be done. The deadline is tomorrow, and that still needs to be completed because I just really don't enjoy it. But anyways, one of the ways that I avoid procrastination and help get things done is through accountability measures, such as booking people on to have these podcast sessions with me. If it was just me talking, I'd probably end up putting it off, and you wouldn't have seen past strength two, maybe. And the other thing is just having a strategy that I do two strengths a month. So if you've only just tuned in, then welcome to the Character Strengths 24 in 2024. The energy is a little bit, I'd say probably about 40%. Usually what happens is though that raises up as soon as I start talking to my guest. And today we're going to be talking about teamwork. So um, I suppose it feels a little bit impostery because I'm not feeling very teamworky at the moment. Ironically, I was just telling my friends this weekend, please don't contact me. I've got a very busy few weekends coming up. In fact, the next free weekend I have is August, and we're now currently at the end of June. So, where I'm giving my time and my resources to other projects throughout those weekends in July, I really wanted this one just for myself. I wanted to be completely solo. I wanted very minimal human interaction. Um, there's been some stuff that's been happening in various of my other teams that in various parts of my other teams, which makes me feel a little bit frustrated and not totally thrilled about talking about teamwork. But that is the whole purpose about sitting with discomfort and exploring these conversations, because through doing so, you might end up finding how to tap into. And to be honest, that's exactly the whole point of the character strengths, right? Teamwork for me is strength number 12. Strength number 12. So exactly halfway through the character strengths list, it is completely in the middle. Um, and perhaps if I need to tap into some of that, that's what might help make my teamwork become a bit more effective. Now, according to the VIA character strengths, it is essentially, it is typically considered in regards to smaller groups or teams. And that could be a work group or a sports team. It could be a family, your marriage, or a group of friends working on a project together. But it can also extend to being a good citizen of your community, or more broadly, thinking about the social responsibility towards groups of people or even all of humanity. There is elements of loyalty in there as well as patriotism. I think what I've realized is that I might be better. Okay, full vulnerability alert. Excuse me. Full vulnerability alert. One of the reasons why I'm filming this on Zoom rather than on a separate camera and then editing it, blah, 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 all them resources running a little bit low in terms of time. So this is where you get the raw, unedited, unfiltered version of me. Not that I do much editing anyway. I think I'm better off in teams where I can have more control. There it is. So I'm good at serving humanity. I'm good at serving places or groups outside of me and my immediate circles, because I guess I get to control when I can contribute to that, which time I put into it, which energy, which resources. I'm good at working in other teams as well, for sure. I don't doubt that for a second. I'm good at both leading, managing, following, taking direction, and directing. I can smash all of those things out. But I think I really struggle when there's some kind of group friction or conflict. Um, Especially when people can't see the bigger picture or the betterment of the whole team involved, or when people aren't looking out for each other, for example, and there's vested interests. That really brings me down, and I think because I saw some of my it goes against some of my core values. And that's when I struggle to even subscribe to the core team and their values, because I think it's now being kind of washed away or taken away. So, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about teamwork with a friend and colleague of mine, Rohaan Ahmad, who I'll get him to introduce himself actually shortly. I'm going to ask some questions about teamwork in regards to his work as well as his personal life, and also how both me and him are working together. We may get candid, we may not. I don't know. Let's find out, and let's see if I can turn my 40% by the end of this call to about 60%, 70% at the very least. That was a great start. Muted already. My mic is obviously and Zoom not being a team player in today's episode. So we're joined today by Rohaan Ahmad, who, in fact, why don't you just introduce yourself, Ro? I just introduce yourself. That's,
Just.
I know, go for it.
First of all, you genuinely, you're one of the first, you're only people in this world, other than my family, who say my name correctly.
Rohaan
So,
Ahmad.
because everyone says Rohan, which I'm fine with. Don't worry, it's fine. I've learned to accept it. Or Rowan. I think I got called Roxanne once, so let's not talk about that. Legitimately, I did. Hello, everyone. I'm Rohan Ahmed. And I am, God, this is interesting. I am a dancer, performer, inspiring actor, director, creative person at the moment, but also I work in marketing. And I am honored to be here. I have watched this podcast for a while. I've listened
Have you
to
actually?
I do listen to your I don't bullshit, I do listen to them. I do.
What, like, how many episodes? The intro one, fine, but then anything after that?
As in the ones you these character strength sessions.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
imagine you listening to podcasts.
I do. I do. What do you think I do in my spare time? That's what I do. No,
Okay,
I don't.
we know
I
that's a
do. No, I
lie.
do listen. I do listen to podcasts. I listened to this one. I've not listened to all of them. I'm not going to lie. I've listened to most of them. Um,
Damn.
but yeah, and then the other ones you do the film ones.
Screening Minds, oh, shameless plug.
Reading Minds, yes, I have, which is interesting because I haven't watched other than Rocky Rani. I don't think I watched the other ones. But
Mm.
anyway, we're off on a tangent here. So I'm Rohan and work in marketing and performing arts. I've served for
That part's not relevant.
never mind. But yeah, that's me. And I think, you know, in terms of teamwork, I've worked in obviously corporate environments, so there's that teamwork. I worked in creative sort of performing arts, so there's that teamwork and charity. So there's a lot of sort of different elements of teamwork, but hopefully
Mm.
I can talk about today. And then you know, if something else sort of prompts, I can talk about that as well. So, but yeah, that's a bit about me. It's really weird doing intros because I always miss stuff out, but is that a good intro?
That was absolutely fine. Like I said to you before, come as you are, and we'll fill the gaps in as we have our candid conversation. So, welcome to the show. I actually, despite everything that you've just introduced yourself with, none of them were the reason initially why I thought of you for this episode. Um, they will definitely come in, but they're also kind of like the obvious ones. Obviously when you're dancing as part of a troupe or when you're acting on stage or on film, all of that is teamwork. These are all obvious. Tick, tick, tick. But there was one particular thing that you do, which made me wonder how you manage teamwork, um, in your life. But before I get to that, do you have your VIA character strength at all? I know we did it last year, I think, at some point. Don't worry if not, but it might be worth having a look to see where did teamwork fall on that ranking, if you can find it.
I can find it for sure. It was emailed to me, wasn't it? You did email it to me.
I think would it have been me or it would have been VIA? Maybe search up VIA and see if it's
I definitely had it. Let's hope Google is
this is a nice little buffer moment for our listeners to be like, well, maybe I'll go and do the survey at some point. So if you haven't yet,
I would recommend doing it. You know what I find really strange about it? And I think I said this to you, I was like, because I do these online things and they do sometimes are accurate, but this one I was like, this is like some future fortune teller reading my life. And I'm like, how the hell does they know?
that is so interesting. Why did you think
It
that?
was really weird. Okay, so yeah, I've got it here now. Get my report. Perfect. So do you remember what my buy? I ain't buying for this, $49. You
No,
kidding
no,
me?
there's a free one.
Yeah, man, don't put that.
There's
There's
a
an
free one.
attachment to the email. Sorry, this is a horrible buffer. Fill the content with something nice, like put a video on. Put
Not
the
at all.
ambient
This is
music on. Ding, 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 ding.
this is the great one. I don't know what ambient music you listen to. This is a great moment for followers if you haven't sorry, listeners, if you haven't already clicked follow, hit subscribe, share it with a friend, and tell your friend to tell a friend. And as Rohan is now rediscovering, we should say, there are many different versions of the VIA survey. I I have only known one person in my 4 years of this practice to have ever bought a survey. You can do, it can be a bit more what's the word? Detailed and descriptive, but if you are working with a coach, the free version is absolutely fine. If you're going to be working on it independently or you want to lead your teams in it, then maybe buy one of the more uh buyable ones, for want of a better word. Wow.
I've got it.
Here we go. Come on, where's teamwork for you, Ro?
Teamwork. So number one is kindness. Kindness is number one. Teamwork
Okay.
is number kindness, humor. I'm going to do my top five. Humor, no, kindness, humor. That makes sense. Forgiveness, humility. I am quite humil,
Humil? Do you mean humble?
humble, humble. Sorry, it's like
Humil.
10:17. It's too early for Sunday for me. Social intelligence. No, I'm dumb as hell. Oh God, why you pick me up? Teamwork and I'm not. I need. Sorry, there's no.
So where is it then?
Oh, number 13. Lucky number 13.
Interesting. Mine, for me, it's 12. So it's a middle strength for the both of us. But we also have to remember, when did you do that survey? What's the date on it?
I did it 6th of October 2023.
Right. So it's been more than 6 months. It's been about 9 months. And I actually recommend my clients to redo the survey every 9, 10 months or so, or 6 to 9 months or so, because imagine if there's enough change that's happened in that time, some of your character strengths will actually naturally start to change around. Classic example being for anyone who listened to the episode on love, that was at number 4, I think it was for me this time around. But the last time I did it a year ago or a year and a half ago, it was at number 22. So for it to have made such a huge jump meant that there was lots of happening there. And if you guys haven't already heard that episode with Dr. Tanya and teacher Olivia, y'all need to listen to it because it turned into a bit of a mini therapy session where I realized what happened for that love to have shot up so much. So that's a really good insight, and I think it'll be good for you, Ro, to see if it's changed. Because at the time, if you remember, we did the survey when you were in and out of work, you weren't a part of a team, not
Yeah.
an acting team, not really a dancing team either, because you were just going to workshops, really. You weren't part of any teams at that time. Now, however, things are slightly different. Things are changing. So it would be I'd be curious to see if there is some kind of difference within that. But cool. So that's a good start. Your 13 is one of your middle strengths. Now, the reason why, as I was mentioning earlier, it's not because of the dance or the acting or the obvious reasons. I wanted to know about teamwork from you because you're a freelancer in terms of your marketing role. You're a consultant, and you're therefore not really, it sounds really crude for me to say this, but not really loyal to one particular company. You can move around between, I mean, loyalty can exist within your roles because you
Yeah.
might have short-term, mid-term contracts, 8 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is, and there is a level of loyalty that you need within that. But essentially, consultants can move on from one team to another. How do you navigate teamwork and jumping from so many different team values?
I think I've been lucky where, barring some companies which I won't name because we're not naming and shaming, um, I've somehow just fit into the team quite well, and it's my sort of teamwork character strength sort of like they actually help me and sort of like are harmonized in that team. They gel well. So, and I think if we're talking a corporate environment, I do think like the companies I've worked for, eBay, Amazon, well, eBay and Google, Heathrow, in the interview process, they do like pride themselves on looking at if that person, regardless of what their experience is in terms of the like role itself, in terms of their working experience, person fit into this team really well, will they gel? Google especially, they really do look for sort of that. And I think that helps, like the actual screening process helps because that person knows, oh, this person will gel well in the team, or this person won't gel well in that team. So for a corporate perspective, that helps definitely. And it also is about adjustment, as C90 once said, it's all about compromise. So you sometimes you have to make some compromises and stuff and adjust, but most part, I think, barring some companies, I've fit in. And as soon as I've known that I've not fit somewhere, I know pretty much instantly, and I get a bad vibe, and I don't switch off, but I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like it here. I don't think I'm gonna, because it is important to me. Like the work is important, but because you're seeing these people every day, pretty much 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, you have to get on with them, and you're actually in meeting rooms with them, you're in projects with them, you have to get on with them. So that
Mm,
is important to me. outside of work, but outside of corporate work, outside of sort of inside the performing arts world, I've been really lucky to sort of like my dance sort of groups and stuff. I just gel well with them. And it just, works every sort of like, I guess, dance group or sort of like team that I've been or performing arts sort of team. It's been really good. There's a project I'm working on called Bollywood Odyssey. It's like an immersive Bollywood show, and that um the team sort of working on, we do get on really well. And it's I think it's just you gravitate towards people who I don't know, you just generally will gel well within a team. And I think I've also learned sort of like from previous experience as well, what to do and what not to do, or what works and what doesn't. Whereas before, I think, you get those questions in uh surveys like this where you're like, or even like if you're prepping for an interview, it's like, oh, in a team situation, are you the person who always one is like with ideas and like, oh, or leading, whatever? And initially I'd be like, yeah, it was, but I'm like, sometimes calm the hell down, bro. Shut the fuck up. Sorry, pardon my French. And sometimes let someone else speak and stuff. So it's also about learning as you go. So I haven't got it to perfection. It still goes up and down, but I think that like adapting definitely helps to your environment. So I think that is something which has helped me and helped me adjust in different, I guess, team environments. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, it does.
I do waffle a lot. I probably should have said before that I waffle a lot. You already know
Well,
this. Waffle a lot.
ironically, all of my guests actually say the same thing. So it's nothing alien to worry about on this podcast. Like I say, come as you are. What I found really interesting is that you literally named some very corporate places that you worked in: Amazon, Google, eBay, and then you also said Google especially. And what I found very interesting that I wouldn't have imagined, and maybe some of my listeners could do with this so that they can think about, it's I suppose it's quite motivational. You said that probably less than the competence and your ability to do the job role. They look at your ability to fit in with a team more. I know you've said it already. How true do you think that actually is now? And I'm going to ask you to really think deeply about that one in terms of your practice at these places. Because how amazing would that be? Like, you know what? I'm not an amazing tech guy, for example, at Google, but I know that I excel in this place and I'm generally a great team player. Is it worth me applying for a job?
Oh yeah, I literally like had zero experience for any of the jobs I went for. They just looked at like me itself and hired me just for that. There was like, you
You
know,
were the personality hire.
absolutely, yeah. I've got no experience. I don't know why they hire. I do wonder why. No, Um, it depends. For Google, I think it is quite cliche because it's one of their company mottos or what do they call it? I've totally forgot what they call it. It's one of their values, let's say. It's called googliness. This is not Google promotion, by the way, guys. I don't know why I'm talking about Google a lot, but it's called googliness. And I asked one day, I said, "What is googliness?" And they said, we don't know. It's just something. It's something that the interviewer is seeing you within a few seconds or whatever of you walking in or the interview starting. Um, Not to say they made a decision then and there based on if they hire you. That obviously comes from your actual experience and the competency-based questions. But it does, I'm told it does play. So I think they do. And I see it like I'm like when I was there, I've done two different roles now. And when I walk around, I'm like, yeah, I can see it. And then weirdly, if there's someone who's not googly in that way, I can just, you can sort of tell. So I think they do, but I think a lot of the other companies just it's bullshit. They just say it, but they don't mean it. They it's just bullshit, and that is evident. Um, there are companies I've worked for. I'm like, they really say they strive on teamwork and stuff, and I'm like, oh, damn it, stop lying. You know, you
Mm,
you care about, and I'm now extending this not just to corporate, I'm extending this to the probably more actually, now that I probably think about it, more the performing arts and dance shows and stuff and acting shows. You know, sadly, in this environment, in this industry, and there is a lot of selfishness, and it's people who don't value sort of like their teams and stuff like that. So that is quite sad. But I think it's easy to spot where there is sort of like environments where there is sort of like teamwork is encouraged and thrives and where it isn't.
mm.
And again, that's something I've learned to spot. Before I couldn't, but now I can spot it for a mile off. And it really does turn me off. It really like pisses me off. It really is a big red flag for me. To be like, step away, can't do this project. It's not going to work because it is important. You have to get on with people you work with, otherwise it's just boring.
Mm. I find that I actually some of my in my role as a PGCE teacher trainer, some of my students are getting graduate jobs now, or full-time jobs, I should say. And they're also some of the when I was asking them about what kind of things are important to you in a school, it's quite refreshing to hear that, 10 years ago when I was going into the graduate world or postgraduate world, I would take whatever I got because like, yay, wow, I'm just so grateful to be having
Yeah.
a job. Nowadays, the students are asking things like, excuse me, they're asking things like what's the HR policy if you have a mental health unhappiness day or well-being policies, and what do you do to support your staff when they've got this need, or what do you do to support your staff if they've got that need? So it's good. I mean, much to the dismay of right-wing politicians, probably they'll see it as we're in a job recession, just take whatever job you can.
Yeah, they'll call
But
them woke snowflakes, probably, these people.
absolutely, but it's those woke snowflakes that are being the change makers because they know
Absolutely.
that this has not been healthy. Because you know what? Wonderful. You have been working until you are 75, your retirement age, you're working till the grave every day, but how much of your family got to see you? What about those three heart attacks that you had in that time?
How did you know? Oh my God, no one
Do you
knows
know
that.
what? But do you know what I mean? It's like they recognize that times are changing. This isn't okay. And yes, I'm happy to be part of a team, but does that team value me and my contribution as an individual?
Yeah, exactly. Because you realize like you're a cog in a wheel. So, and genuinely, like I have, even though I am doing sort of like consulting contracts and like marketing sort of digital contracts here and there, I have, well, it was my previous contract sort of ended, and I was like, let's take a little bit of a break. And the break was purely just for me to sort of, you know, travel, switch off, but not somehow, always meaning to like work more in the performing arts industry and like actually take it a bit more seriously. So now I'm doing sort of more of that. So that's my more recent teamwork experience than actual corporate experience. Um, because consulting it's quite lonely. Well, not it is a bit lonely because you're not in a team. I'm working from home, Monday to Friday on those. So it's just me. So there's not actually. So yeah, I think now like all the experience that I might be talking about would probably come from performing arts and theatre and acting and dancing and stuff, which is good.
Mm. And then kind of there's a lot that we have in common in that, I was doing the consulting thing for about a year, and it was lonely.
Mm,
And it's not that it's not lonely anymore. It is lonely. The only way that I offset that is by getting involved in team-based projects like performing
yeah.
arts or like the part-time job that I've got. But one of the things that I think I was just saying on the introduction here actually as well about going back into smaller teams when you've tasted the sweet, sweet taste of freedom and not having to answer to anyone
Oh my God.
and organize your own time and your own schedule can be quite hard. And
Yeah.
I know someone's going to be thinking and be like, well, why did you do it then? Because the other side can also be quite lonely and can be quite unstructured, and sometimes you lose the mojo if you don't have human interactions
Yeah.
because you
Absolutely.
kind of lose sight of your place in the bigger picture. And
Yeah.
I think it's you've got to have the best of both worlds. How do you balance that
How do I balance what in terms of having that enjoying my like me time or like
as and being part of a team?
um oh like in terms from like let's just talk about sort of like performing and stuff. Like there will be times where like if it is like a team rehearsal, if it's a team like script read through or stuff, that has to be in a group setting. I actually prefer that, but genuinely there are times where I just need to either completely switch off from a project, take like a day or a few hours if it's like a completely away from it and it's just me and it's not work related. I actively will focus on something else which is not like that project related. That could be something simple as just, I don't know, going to the gym, going for a swim, going for a run, completely switch off, meditating, yoga, whatever, completely switch off from that project. And that solo time I enjoy because I value it. Um, but I think I'm actually thinking now, I'm like most of the stuff I'm doing recently is very team based, other than the consulting. So the consulting stuff I do enjoy now, that solo part, because I do more enjoy working in a team. I do, that's my thing. I'm a people person. I enjoy sort of interacting with people. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy working with people. So I enjoy that more. So I think I'm at the moment the split is 70-30. 30. Yeah, 70-30. And I like that split. I really do. 30 more of the isolated solo sort of side, that 70 more teamwork. And I think I like that split. I think I would stretch to 60-40, but even 80-20 on the other side. But I think I'm happy with this split at the moment and for now. So I think it's that balance is trying to work out which one you want more. 50-50, I wouldn't do. And I think people can do, but I couldn't do it. But I think it's just about finding your sweet spot, the ratio, and then just doing that.
Mm.
I'm no expert. I just do it, and it's taken a long time for me to, I'm 25 now, so it's taken me a while to,
Sorry, what did you say? You're how old?
25. So I know I don't look it. So it's takes. Why are you laughing?
It just reminded me of an episode. Again, a shameless plug to all my listeners. Listen to the judgment episode because we speak about not judging the process of aging and embracing it and being okay with it, with all of our grey hairs and our creaky knees and our changing life
You're about to
aspirations.
put mascara in my beard to hide them. Can you see them? Legit did. Anyway,
So funny.
I'm 37, as that's why I've said his I'm making that face. But
Me
yeah,
make a face, never.
no, no, no. What? So yeah, that I guess that's for me is that ratio. I don't know. Is that something you agree with, or is that something you can relate to? Like, do you have a sweet spot or a split ratio between your team working and your, I don't know why I did the thing, team working and your solo sort of projects and stuff? Because I think, yeah.
That's a really good question, actually, because uh, you had me at sweet spot. Oh, because then I'm like, oh, damn, do I have a sweet spot? If you were to ask me with that question, I'd be like, yeah, at the moment it's probably about 70-30 in terms of 70 solo, 30 team.
Oh
That's
wow. Okay.
so in terms of, and when I say at the moment, I mean today and yesterday,
Yeah.
because I was just saying it again on the intro, like I recognize that my body just needs no human interaction. I think you're
Yeah.
the first human interaction I've had in 3 days, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with that because Thursday and Friday really kind of drained me out. My social battery, as I love that term now, was kind
I
of
love that term.
draining. Um, if I was to say generally over the last month, it's probably 70-30, 70 being a teamwork, being around people, working with people, 30 solo work. I would ideally like it to be, I think 60-40. I don't think 50-50 works for me because you're
No.
neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I think if I'm working towards certain goals, I have to be on one side of that spectrum. At the moment, it's 70-30. I'd rather it was 60-40, teamwork, solo split. And I think on the other side of July, I'm looking up at my vision board. That's why I'm like in this direction. I think on the other side of July, I wanted to start to. The thing is, I operate a lot with seasons as well. Anyone who's a part of the reading club or whatever will probably remember this last year. In that summer last year was very social. I was out all the time, dancing, classes, workshops, etc. Then when the season started changing, I did this course called Knowing Yourself, Vitality Refined, and we were talking about how actually the human body needs to kind of work with nature and with the seasons. So as winter and autumn starts coming in, I also need to start thinking about hibernating, and I love the idea of that. So around the
Did you
winter
say
time,
hibernating?
because
What?
that's
What?
it's that's what nature teaches us to do though, no? Like the leaves start falling off, they basically refresh themselves for another year of bloom next year. Animals start coming inside to gather warmth, to gather their resources, to rest, basically. Like we are not one and different to nature. We're one and the same. We're part of the same ecosystem. That's my belief anyway. And we're taught through nature that in doing such things, you actually refine your vitality and you recharge yourself for the next year. So perhaps I think I need to embrace the summer and be okay with 70-30, 60-40. Naturally, when September, October comes around, that's going to start to go the other way. And then I start looking for activities that are a bit more homely and internal.
Yeah.
And I felt that last year because summer was great, but it burned me out a little bit. And I realized, you know what I really miss? Do you remember the lockdowns?
Oh
Um,
my God. Yes. I've said this so many times before. And I mean, I don't want COVID to come back. Absolutely not.
Of
And a lot of
course
people,
not. And we say this with sensitivity because a lot of people, for a lot of people, lockdown is not great. Like if you're in a difficult
yeah.
family situation in
Yeah.
certain class systems and racial systems and so on. So, but on a personal level, I loved that I was forced to stop running, Afsar,
Oh my
sit,
God. You're
stay
literally
inside.
speaking my mind. This is bonkers. This is exactly why I did enjoy the lockdowns, all three of them. I said one I was a bit like, oh, but I did, especially the one which was like, you literally cannot leave your house. Like, don't go for 5 minutes to have a little jog or walk your dog or like, your cat. No one walks cats. But
They do.
no one walks a cat. Who walks a cat?
Alison walks her cats. They have leads, I think. I think she does anyway. Wait, I might have made that up. Let me take that back. But I do know people who walk their cats. If you're a
What?
cat walker, leave a comment in the
Yeah, please
comments.
do. And no judgment. I love it.
You're a liar because you just judged.
Excuse me. I would take my goldfish for a walk every day.
You don't have a goldfish. You barely keep yourself alive, let alone a goldfish.
So it died.
Point
I'm one of
in
those people
case.
whose Tamagotchi always used to die. No, I'm joking. I'm not. I'm actually a
Tamagotchi.
very
There you
good.
go. That's how you know he's not 25.
I'm a very stuff. I'm a very good parent,
Caretaker.
responsible child, responsible parent. Don't worry. What was the question? How
We
did
were
we get
talking about we were talking about lockdowns.
lockdowns? Yeah, so I did enjoy them because you're right. That gave me like I've always been told. Various of my friends have been like, "Bro, like you just." I get asked questions like, "When do you like sleep? When do you stop? When do you just?" And I'm like, "I do, I do." I've only had 3 hours sleep today, by the way. I know you can't tell. So
It's true, you actually can't tell because your energy's on point and
oh, the energy's there because I've just had a double espresso, and the skin is there because of filters and some foundation. Thank you, Jenny Janisha. Plug for her services.
wait, sorry, can I just clarify? Did you do makeup to get on this call? Like as if it was, I don't know, Friday Night Live with Jimmy Kimmel or something, or the Kapil Sharma show?
I'm not the good button on my show, thanks. And not the Kimmel either. Yeah, no, I thought I was a goth with a gun.
That's so insulting. Get out.
I know, I knew that's why I said it toxic. Let's get out. Anyway. Uh,
Um, One of the things about the lockdown conversation, though, what I've realized is in relation to teamwork, it forced every team on this planet to halt and
hmm,
go solo first. Yes, you might carry on working at home. I'm sure some of the big corporates, I mean, I was teaching at the time, and we had to carry on our lessons online. And that was not a smooth transition by any means. All of a sudden, we're like, Microsoft Teams, what's that?
yeah,
Zoom, huh? Like them man shot up since the pandemic, and now it's such a staple in every household. Google
yeah,
Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. But before you could do any of that, you had to pause and just understand how to be yourself for a little bit. And I
yes,
think that's one of the reasons what I loved about the lockdown because I was always part of a team, whether that is in the family, being part of someone's son, being someone's brother or whatever it is, um, the team at work. I'm a teacher of this department and that head of year and this da 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 da. And my identity really didn't exist outside of that, to be honest.
yes,
So the lockdowns really force you to stop and be like, now you're none of those things. You're
yes.
literally at home 24/7. So who are you now?
Yeah, who are you now? But yeah, I mean, for me, like the lockdown, I don't know how we spent talking about lockdown so long, but for me, things did move online. So all the work, I was working at eBay at the time, and all the team meetings, everything obviously was on Zoom. And then dance classes were on Zoom. Social gatherings, like, do you remember doing like we did, my friends and I, every Saturday we do like a not games night, but just like social, and it would be someone's turn to host that week. So if it was my turn, I would put together a quiz based on something, and it would make it fun. So we would be on Zoom doing a quiz or a game, which we've got Among Us or something. We'd play that sort of. So everything was on Zoom, still there, team based, just digital. Um, and again, that showed you sort of like that strength, that team working strength. If it's quite innate in you and it's quite sort of one of your strong things, even though it's number 13 for me, I still think I think I want to do it again just to see how much it's gone up. Um,
I'd love you to and let us
I
know.
would, and
Like
I have a feeling it would go. I'm quite surprised to see it number 13. I really am. Maybe I was having one of those solo moments when I did it. On October, what was happening on
it
October?
was, remember, because we were having some sessions to talk
Yeah.
about kind of your career
Oh,
pathway. We're
Right.
talking about your career pathway, and then there was
Okay.
bits about your mother. So there was loads of things going
Yes,
on.
I think, oh, I know exactly when I did this. Yeah, I'm going to do that again. So let's see, it might be like number four. But it just shows you like if you're a team player, you can. I found it quite okay to adjust to Zoom. Like it was an adjustment, but I found it enjoy. I actually quite enjoyed working on teams, uh,
Mm.
on Zoom in sort of work in dance. There was a at the time I was dancing with a company called Bollywood Dance School UK. They did like a digital showcase, which was it involved a team. Like you had to, you're in your team. I did something with other sort of companies where it was all dance based, but you had to sort of like work with your team online. So um, I found it quite easy to adapt to the digital sort of like transition for that period of lockdowns, to work on teams online.
I'm conscious of time, so but I do have like two or three questions that I do want to probe. One of them is a little bit personal, and I just really got inspired just now actually from something that you said. So feel free to go as in depth as you like, or not at all. Feel free to sidestep it and just ask for the next question, and I'm happy to do that. But I want to talk about teams in terms of as a family group.
Hmm.
Now I know one of your biggest inspirations in your life is your late mother,
Hmm.
through all of her contributions and the way that you are so attached to her spirit. But also, it's not like you're not attached to your father either, or even your grandmother. Like as a family unit, you're quite tight. What were the things that you think perhaps your parents did together or even separately that kept that family as a team?
I think you're talking about just my siblings and I, obviously. And
Or, yeah, or even like with your grandmother, just the fact like you live in an extended family essentially, like your nieces now live, are together as well. So, and there's got to be a legacy that your mum left that meant that you guys are still tight knit, and it could be things that they did when you were growing up. It could be things that they did recently. Is there anything there?
I think with sort of growing up, there was sort of like it was genuine love, like sort of like, and every parent loves their child, but it was literally like um unabashed, just unlimited sort of love. And it was also a very sort of like, I would say, open sort of environment. There were things which you can't talk about, obviously. Um,
When you're an Asian family, of
when you're an
course.
Asian family, there are things you can't talk about. But my mum and dad always said, like, and I saw it sort of like, with it was more for my rebellious siblings, my older brother, my younger brother, because me and my sister
Because
were.
you were the golden child, of
I'm
course.
not joking, officer. Genuinely, I'm not being. I was the favorite child. Was the gold. Literally, those terms were used. People used to call me the golden child because I was. I am. I'm not even. I don't even deny that. That's not a big-headed thing. I know I am. That's it. My mother was alive now. She'd be like, she'd just pop in and be like, "Yeah, he's right." Bye. Um, I think it was a lot to do with they said, look, whatever happens, if something goes wrong in your life, whatever, like tell us first. We'd rather you be honest with us rather than someone else sort of tell us. And so that I think that, you know, in my head, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But there's obviously some things I can't tell you. But I actually genuinely knew if I did, they would respond well to it. And I think that openness definitely helped because like I think me and my sister found it really easy just to be within reason, sort of just, be ourselves and just I think that helps because that openness that sort of like genuinely sort of helps and lets you sort of be free. But I think also they themselves grew up in a very close family. So my mum and her sisters were very close growing up. My dad and his siblings were close, in a different way. But there was always that sort of like I think they have a big they have a big sort of family. I think that helped, because that's what they knew, and they just brought what they knew to when they raised their own family and set up their own home and set up that environment. They knew like what to instill in their kids and stuff that would help them, I guess, work in a team. Like I do get on with all of my siblings. I feel blessed to sort of like, people often ask, oh, Ro, like you're 37, why are you still living at home? That I did for other reasons and stuff, like, to help look after my mom and all that stuff. That's why I prolonged it. But like I don't mind it. I do enjoy it. Like in lockdown, like I genuinely really appreciated living at home because I couldn't fathom the idea of, and my sort of like heart goes to people who were alone during lockdown because that's a horrible thing to do. So I think it's just that's what my parents knew from their childhood, and they just brought what they did, what they experienced in their childhood to their family, and just created that, team. And we do, like, as cliche as it sounds, we do get on with the team. Like if it's something simple as just having dinner at home, we try and do that once a week. If it's something simple, we like our Eids and um Christmases and all these sort of our big team effort. We all get together, we all cook. Like I'm talking extending a family. We if it's a big thing, so we all pitch in and we all sort of work really well together. And I think it's just what our family and our ancestors and us instilled in us. Sounds like a really cheesy sort of Bharatiya family. We're really not. We don't sing every day. We do sometimes. We do. No, we don't. But yeah, I think it's that is what they knew, and then they just adapted it, and then it just comes with learning and stuff. So
Mm.
yeah, and yeah,
So openness and unconditional positive regard, those are the words that just kind of came to me as you were talking, and a lot of those. Do you think if we were to lead our corporate teams like that, it would work?
I think to an extent it would. Yeah, I do. I think there
What
there is.
what's the extent?
Well, I mean, it's not, there's obviously difference in the sense of they're your colleagues versus your sister or brother. It's like you're not going to have that close relationship. But having said that, I think, there are, I have been fortunate to pick up, bloody hell, like collection, like, have genuine friendship relationships, which now from corporate environments, which are not no longer corporate environment, we don't work together, but we're still friends. And even when I was working there, like we still had that really close sort of bond. While we're still in the corporate environment, where we so one of my, a few of my closest friends are people I used to work with. Um, and I think that's where, and we would work in a team, like we would have to because it's a corporate environment. We have one projects together. Um, but I think there is a crossover. There can be. It's just obviously, that love for a family member is slightly different for a love from a colleague per se.
Mm. And also, I would imagine that with family, you've spent quite vulnerable moments together,
Yes, absolutely.
growing up, while with colleagues, you don't always have that opportunity, and
Yeah.
that
Like,
vulnerability isn't always necessary. Maybe in a
yeah,
different perspective,
no,
vulnerable to take ideas and take risks, but not in the same way.
and then to just dwell on like a teamwork sort of thing in a family environment and home environment in a point, and I don't mind talking about it. I used to sort of forget, and I still do, but like my mum's final few weeks, we knew by then, she, am I right talking about this, by the way?
Yeah, yeah.
She
Whatever's
knew
good for
by
you.
like we knew by then because the doctor said she'd fought it she passed away from cancer. So she fought it for 8 years. And she went like she'd taken the chemo very reluctantly because by then, but in the final few months, the doctor she'd stopped chemo because she was like, it's not working, it's making me miserable. Let's just see what happens. And the doctors were like, okay. And she was like, well, how long would I, last or live? And they were like, we can't say. They were like, your cancer's quite spread. It's quite large. So it could be months, it could be weeks, it could be a year, whatever. We don't know. But they were like, as long as you yourself obviously are eating well, you're not taking any medication now, you're eating well, but keep yourself happy, keep yourself like enjoy your life because trust me that they were like that will help. And so literally my siblings and I and my dad and I, we were like, right, we'll genuinely have to make this like a Suraj Bharadati environment for as long as we can now, for as long as she has. So we did. That was teamwork. We all banded together and my older brother and his wife moved back in because my mum loved family. She loved her nieces. So they moved back in. It was like Piccadilly Circus here. My sister was a bit more often. So we came together as a team to make that environment very as happy and positive as possible.
There's a shared
Um,
goal there, clearly.
Absolutely. And you know what? And it would be weird. Like she would go to like what's it called? Her appointments with a consultant, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're walking fine, like you're not in no pain." And she's like, "Not really." And I'm like, "Oh." So and then I mean, none of us really, the doctors didn't know what was happening. Like she was on, but I think I know now because it was the last few days where the hospice nurses would come to just change her bedding. just look after because she was quite unwell. And they would do stuff we couldn't do, like, injections and stuff. But what they noticed, they were like, we've been doing this for years. One of them, I remember, she said, we've been doing this for years. Like, we've never seen an entire family in one room around a person who's going for every time we come, you're here. We're not saying this in a bad way. We're just like, wow, like, what do you guys not have jobs? Do you like what's going on? We were like, we do. This is just our priority. And they were like, but you're here in the room, and we were in that room every day until she went. And they were like, and they were just like, you know what, this is like really inspiring because it's like a team effort you're putting in, and that's what I remember her saying. She said team, and then I thought about it. I was like, shit, yeah, it was. We came together as a team, and our goal was to keep her happy, for as long as she is alive, and or keep her living as long as she can. So, yeah, that I think was a team effort and in a family setting. That I think is my most special sort of like team effort that I've had,
Mm,
regardless family setting, work setting, dance setting, whatever. That for me, because that the aim, what we wanted to do, we achieved like easily because the nurses were like, yeah, she's considering where she is, she's looking well and stuff. Um, so yeah, so for me, that was a very sort of memorable team effort, if anything.
amazing. And I think there's so much there about the role of positive psychology and how it can actually have an impact on people's health and longevity. There's been studies on it. Despite positive psychology, as you know, that's my modality, that's my
Yeah,
passion now. It's quite a new branch of psychology because most of the world is still catching up on the medical model.
yeah,
What's wrong? How can we fix that? As opposed to now, what's strong and how can you nurture more of that? Your mum literally said, "What's strong? My family and the love I have for them." So
yeah,
let's just ramp that up in my last few days because that's what's gonna, and that was what is telling within your family unit. That's what really did ramp up, and that's what they said. Like, you know what, she might have been off chemo and whatnot. She's doing all right, considering
yeah.
all things considering, she's doing all
Yeah,
right.
and it does help.
Um,
It genuinely does help. I tell you because I've seen it, and it would be simple things like we literally just um I we had old VHS tapes of family films. I just got someone to put them on a Google Drive. I paid someone to just be like, convert them, please. I don't know what I'm doing, just convert them. And we just sit in her room, all of us just watching them and laughing. And it was that positive soldier helped us. So it was a both two-way street. It was for her, but it was also for us because we were just like, obviously really sad. We were like, we know what's coming, but we don't want to sit there going, oh no, oh my God, that would be behind closed doors or like, whatever. But in front of her, we were just really happy and stuff. And I think that helped her as well. So it genuinely does this whole positive psychology thing genuinely helps, I think. And that the team working side of it builds into that because if you're part of a really strong team and you're working towards a common goal, that that sense of achievement you get when that happens as a team it's so motivational, honestly. And that's what I strive for in these projects, and that's what
mm,
I strive for. That's what we strove for in that. I mean, that was the goal, was just to keep her happy and stuff. But like this Bollywood Odyssey thing I'm doing, the goal for that is just putting on a good show. That's it. And if we do that as a team, we're winning.
mm. Anyone who's interested in this, there's quite early on in my now career, I looked at this. I studied this psychologist called Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who you could say in a nutshell, she looks at like the psychology of dying.
Yeah. Oh,
And she
Doctor,
goes,
what did you say? Q.
uh, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Let me find out if
Send it
that's
to me.
correct.
Send it to me. Q. You can just email it to me.
Yes, it is. She's a Swiss American psychiatrist. And she, yeah, absolutely a pioneer in near-death studies.
Oh,
Um, she talks about the five stages of grief, the death of dying. There's loads of like, or the psychology of dying. There's quite an interesting, there's documentaries and stuff that she does, and she goes and visits people in their houses and looks at, what's making them, basically the process of them saying or hearing the words, "You haven't got long left to live," all the way until the actual moment that they pass, and then also the after effects as well on the family. So she's someone whose work I really, really like because it's quite vulnerable to be. It's such a vulnerable moment that I think is guaranteed. It's the only guarantee that everyone has in life that it's going to happen.
yeah.
How it happens for different people, it's a different story. But thank you for sharing that vulnerable moment. We have a very short amount of time left, so I'm just going to ask you to now bring together all of your experiences, whether that's corporate, or family, performing arts, passions, love, whatever it is. And I want you to think about perhaps how you might advise me.
Mm.
So
Oh, wow. Okay.
one of the things that I struggled with, as I said at the to the intro on the intro to the listeners, is that um, I'm okay in teams now that I've tasted the sweet, sweet life of freelancing, consulting, etc. I'm okay in teams to an extent, and then I need to pause, duck out, take a recharge my social battery, etc., etc. What advice would you give me in to be a part of a team where I might not necessarily feel that passion or the engagement with the work that I'm doing in it?
Hmm. That's a good question. Wow, I didn't know this is. I think you're going to be like advising me. Um, I first will give it a chance.
Okay.
Obviously, give it a chance, give it a fair chance because things change. Like again, humans, they're probably thinking the same thing, so they're probably gonna, you know, make their decision based on how they think you are and how they work with you. So give it a chance. Draw from it what I guess the red flags, and I think you're quite perceptive and you quite pick out, and I'm quite perceptive, what works, what doesn't. Um, and set those, you're going to love this word because, it's one of your favorite words. Set those boundaries. Set those boundaries. And like a cricket killer knows even that. Set those boundaries and based on what from that, so you can make it very clear and be honest, be like, this part I'm enjoying, this part I'm not enjoying, this perks work. If you have that open forum, if it's like a corporate environment, your boss is just completely toxic and stuff, my advice, and this is probably the worst advice, is leave, fucking leave. Like you'll find another job. I did. Just leave. Don't slave away in a horrible corporate environment if your team is shit or you're not getting on,
Mm.
you know.
I like
Um,
that. This is, you know what, that's really crucial there is that you're telling me, because at the same time we have to, if we just ended up leaving everything that was a remote inconvenience for us, or that we just didn't
not
like it,
everyone,
would we really
not
get anywhere?
of
So I
course
really
not.
liked the honesty that you said, that of actually give it a try first of all,
Of
and
course.
maybe think about what's working and what's not working.
Yeah,
I really like that, because I think technically, if I'm in this role and there's nothing that's not necessarily not working, I just don't really like it,
yeah,
then I could, before I decide to jump ship, think about ways that I could like it. Why
yeah,
am I here in the first place? What was the reason for me saying yes?
yeah,
Technically, the people I'm working with, they're not toxic. The environment's fine. If
yeah,
I agree with you, if the environment's fine, what do? You don't just pull out the weed and throw it out, you
yeah.
or the plant, sorry, you change the environment, so you add
That's
lighting or you water it a little bit more, etc. um but in this circumstance, I like that you didn't necessarily say leave straight away. You were like, find the balance, where what how much of that is coming from you and how much is that coming from the teams.
yeah, but don't leave, even if it's bad. Don't leave. Just stay on that ship. Stay on that ship.
Liar.
Stay on that ship for a little while longer, please.
Oh dear. We're not talking about the same thing, by the way. If you're throwing shade, we're not.
I'm not
I
talking. Oh, okay.
I actually just meant
Let me take that
generically.
part out of the recording.
I'm I'm a bit lost now as to what we're talking about. Okay, the last question. Now, this is more, so that was kind of like general long term. Now we're talking short term. I'm seeing Rahan in like 4 hours time, because we're working as part of a team on something, and we've got to sit down and do some choreography work together. We've got to do some
Is that
practical
still happening?
rehearsal. It is.
Oh
S-
God. Okay.
Stop. Admin work afterwards. All right. And now, but full transparency though, as I said, I am feeling 40, 60 at this moment, in terms of I want my weekend to myself, and I don't want that human interaction. I don't even want Ro to come round, blah 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 blah. So what advice would you
Oh my God. I'll bring biryani.
all of a sudden I'm now 70 I'm now 70 30. You know what? I'm up for it. No, so on a serious level, what advice do you give to someone where they've got a very short amount of time and
Mm.
they need to kind of ramp up the energy or ramp up the social battery, shall we say? What interventions can you think of that might be useful in a short space of time?
Drugs. You tell me to be honest on this forum. I'm being honest. Sorry, I am joking. I am genuinely joking.
By
No.
drugs, he means stimulants like coffee.
Yes, I mean coffee. I mean like dates and stuff. Um, No, not drugs. Ooh, that's a good question. See the bigger picture.
Okay.
See, that sounds really a cop out because again, if it's a really toxic boss, he could be like, "We've got a deadline. That's a bigger picture. Just get through it."
Hmm.
So actually, no, I take that back.
I was going to say because I might not subscribe to that bigger
I take
picture at
that
this
back.
moment in
That
time.
is completely wrong. So I take that back. That was a bad example. If you're very short on time and you just, I think somehow do like an express version of that whole picking and choosing what you like and what you don't. So case in point, if it's let's yes you use this as an example, so let's use this as an example, like if we're meeting later to go over our characters and stuff for this project we're working on. But for me, I don't know about you, for me, that part I enjoy. So I've enjoyed aspects of this project. I haven't enjoyed aspects of the project. But for me, I'm just like, you know what, I'm so invested in it. I'm just going to do it and I'm going to get through it. And I know the contributions I've made, the contributions my team I've made along with you, and they'll be good. They'll work, you know. So that motivates me. I enjoy that part. And then our sort of like the characters we're working on, I enjoy that part. So I already know I'm like, I actually really will, I know I will enjoy it. So that's me. But for you, I would see from that today, do stuff that if that you enjoy about that project. So if
Okay.
me coming over is just, oh yeah, we have to do it because we haven't got any time, but I really don't want to, I won't come around. Tell me not to. Genuinely, just be like, and if you would rather sit there on your own with your headphones or music outside and just go through the character, your own character first, at the same time be like that this could work with Rose's character in this way. Still do that what we were going to do, but just do it alone, and
Hmm.
then tell them. So what I'm saying is pick from that very quickly, make a decision very quickly, and be like, right, you know what? And I know some people like take a while to decide, but just you'll know. I think you'll be like, I think about if you start thinking about it. For me, if I start thinking about something and it makes me uneasy, I get knot in my stomach quite quickly. I don't enjoy it. So
Hmm.
you would instinctively know. So just think, be like, do I enjoy right now? Am I in a dancing mood? Do I want to do the dancing that I'll be doing on this project? Or do I want to do more of the acting side, the improv side, the stage side? Which side? And when you know, just be like, I'll do that today. So if it
Hmm.
are improv scenes, that's what we'll do. If it's officers scenes, just do that alone. Like, I don't know, just it's like an express version of that picking and choosing. Just be like, oh, sometimes you might not know. And then I would say ask a very close friend. So
Hmm.
you can't make a decision because I'm really bad at sometimes making decisions very quickly, let alone long term. So I'll just ask one of my friends, really close friends who I know will help me decide and knows me very well. I think she knows who she is anyway. And I'll just ask her and I'll be like, right, what's going on? I can say her name, can't I?
Yeah, I don't know why you were like she who must not be named Lord Voldemort.
Sorry, yeah, we don't like to name her. Yeah, so me and Priyanka Chopra, we got on really well. We're like besties. So I have to reach out to her all the time whenever I need something done. And she's PC. I love you. You do such a good job. Just do more for humanity, babe. Thanks.
You know, I've
Um,
got some. I'll tell you something about her later. How
yeah,
close?
yeah,
No,
yeah.
like,
I'm joking. Did you know what Hazard said? You're lovely, but do more for humanity once in a while.
yeah, I
That's
know, I heard, but no, as in, I'll tell you something about how
okay. Cool.
closely linked I. Do you know the theory of 6 degrees of separation?
Yeah.
I am 1 degree away.
Huh? Oh, are you like a cousin?
Uh,
Yeah, we'll talk about that
anyways,
later. But what I was saying, yeah. So Jenny's doing shit. Like I would just reach out to her, be like Jenny, and she would be like, "Yep, do this." I would like, "Okay, good, thanks." Bye. Now, it wouldn't be like she's telling me what to do. She would know. So either make a decision yourself or ask someone for advice who you trust, who you know will give you the good advice, who knows you very, they have to know you well. That's very important. Um, yeah, ask a Jenny Janisha.
so I think that brings us to the end of this conversation. Well, I do appreciate that. I appreciate your respect of boundaries and vulnerabilities. I I think I already know what I'm going to do then for the next few hours. You're right. Definitely pick and choose the stuff that you enjoy. I do agree with that. So every time when I'm working with clients, we do something called job crafting, looking at how to manipulate the job role It sounds like such a loaded negative word, but it's actually not. Manipulate it in a way that works for you and the greater team, what you need now, next week, next month, and so on. And that can actually help people recharge their battery for whatever role it is and still be a part of that team. For the next few hours, I think I'm actually just going to switch off because I know that I've got dedicated time when you're here anyways. And that will be our dedicated time to do that, number one. Number two, I actually think it's such a beautiful day.
No, it is.
We're
Yeah.
gonna rehearse outside, mate. We'll take our team
No,
meeting.
no, no, no. My hay fever is really bad. Okay,
No,
I'm
no,
five tablets.
there's no that what's it called?
Pollen.
Yeah, that one.
What do you
The
mean you're outside, so what do you mean there's no pollen? There's pollen everywhere.
no,
That's not
not in
pollen.
my town. Not
What?
where I.
No, that's not pollen. Pollen exists in Mordor. I'm telling you, Frodo does pollen.
Okay. Anyways, it's the amphitheater that you saw yesterday, so a very concretey space, but we'll think about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's a
Um,
good place to do
because it'll
the.
be a nice. I think this is the thing about sometimes change the environment that you're working in as well.
I
Take
might
the
bring an
team.
outfit because I want to shoot real in that amphitheater. Sorry, we're going
No,
off
it's
topic.
not happening. Sorry. No.
It was a day.
No. Anyways, thank you for this conversation and thank you for your
Thank
time.
you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I hope it's been insightful to your listeners. I have waffled. So if I said anything of importance or note, um, let me know in the comments below.